Hello guys and welcome back to Let's Talk with Matt and Johnny. Today guys, our topic is self-esteem. I'm going to start this quote to build into the podcast, and I think we're going to break it down and take the conversation from there. Low self-esteem is like driving through life with your handbrake on. I think that's such a powerful quote, And also taking self-esteem into consideration into obviously where we are in this stage of life and the world right now during the pandemic. I think most people's self-esteem, including ourselves, at some point will be very much affected. And it's all about how you're going to take yourself out of that, when you're stuck in a rut or you're feeling like self-esteem is not great. I believe that some people's self-esteem will be very low at the moment, and also the thought of going out into social events, festivals, music festivals, even going shopping will take some time to adjust, and people's self-esteem will take a long time to build up again. Lads, what do you reckon? Let's start where we feel at the moment. Where do you feel our self-esteem at the moment? Matt, we'll start with you, mate.
Yeah, I think it's like just using that quote. I can definitely resonate with that, because you've got there's times where you feel like you can do anything, right? You feel really confident. You feel really you feel confident that you could do anything, right? And you can go and do anything in life. And then there's other times where you feel like you get a bit of a setback. You get a bit of a time where you just kind of get a bit of a lull. You get a bit tired. Things start knocking you back. You feel you might not necessarily be on top of stuff. And personally, I think we feel like that all the time. It comes in waves, doesn't it? But presently, for me, very much so, I'm in that situation where haven't seen friends and family for a long time. As you say, there's the situation we're in at the moment, and hopefully, as we covered in the last couple of podcasts, that we'll hopefully be out of that very soon. But yeah, very much so. And again, just and again, I don't really think that guys really talk about it too much, but also things like body image is a big thing around self-esteem, and and actually having a motivation to do exercise or be active, or and again, that kind of presence, and very much so there's times where and again, recently for me is I felt quite quite tired. Work's been quite drooling. It's been quite full on, and that's sometimes it's very difficult to switch off. When you're in the evening and stuff like that, it's very difficult to switch that type of things off, and that definitely comes across in the way that you conduct yourself into day-to-day life with with partners, with friends, family, whoever. Sometimes it's very difficult to get past that, and I think when you're feeling like that, your self-esteem or your mood is very much it kind of has that kind of feeling. And not to kind of dwell on it too much, Sanjay, I'll let you speak in a sec, but I think it's very much is that happens, right? You're allowed to have that. And for me, I think that I can recognize that I'm in that situation at the moment, and for me, I just think actually if I know it's there and I know it will pass, and that's a thing that's just kind of in the back of my mind. I'm thinking, yeah, it's a tough time at the moment with work and everything else, but that will pass, and hopefully my self-esteem and my confidence and all of that will come out in due course.
So,
two things on self-esteem. I think for me personally, anyway, is that when I had low self-esteem, and it comes in like waves, right? You get really low at one point, and you're really good at another point, and you're buzzing at another point, and then it comes straight back down the next day. Within 12 hours, you're back to sort of having really, really low self-esteem. And just kind of picking on what you said, Matt, body image, like your image. But reality is, what I had to realize is that it's not everyone else. It's me who's dictating what self-esteem I'm having at that moment. And I put a quote out earlier, and I'll just read it to you. Is when you truly don't care what anyone thinks of you, you have reached a dangerously awesome level of freedom. Right? I think that's so powerful, because that just goes. If you didn't care what anyone thinks about you, your self-esteem probably wouldn't be as damaged as you think it is.
No.
And that's all it is. It's perspective on how you perceive yourself. How do you rate yourself? You know, some days you rate yourself at a 1 or a 2. The other days you're at like 10, 11. You know, it's really just about that, I think. And I've had to realize that, and that doesn't happen overnight. You have to learn that and proper work on that. Otherwise, it can be easy to miss.
I think you've got to be true to other people, but first of all, most importantly, you've got to be true to yourself. And you've got to make sure you're happy before you think about it. I think nowadays we think about too much about family, which is fine, and other people, and it's easy to forget yourself.
But that's easy because that's easy to do because your human intuition is that you always want to look out for other people, right? And you want to look out for your family and stuff like that. And you forget, you put yourself to the back, you put the handbrake on, and then all of a sudden it has a ripple effect and it comes back to bite you. And I fully believe that as well. Look after number one first, and everyone else will be looked after.
Yeah. Another quote, actually, that I found that I was scrolling before this podcast. It's not really a quote, but it's true, and I definitely believe in this. Stop breaking yourself down into bite-sized pieces to serve others. Stay whole and let them choke. Wow.
We should call this Let's Talk with Matt and Johnny podcast
Quotes.
Yeah.
I think it's the best way of in terms of like breaking self-esteem down, referring back to quotes. I use quotes in my job all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, I've got my opinion, which is great, but some of the quotes are so hit the spot. But yeah.
No, definitely. Well, just to kind of hit on that is that it's very much, isn't it? It's kind of, sometimes you think that there's that term, that social butterfly, isn't there? Someone who kind of flips between various different friends groups and family groups and all of that kind of stuff to try and please everyone. And really, it's yes, okay, you're seeing people, or yes, okay, you again, it's one of those things we were talking about before in previous podcasts as well, about peer pressure and being able to be present in various different chats. And we talked about in the very last podcast of talking about just the pressure of being present in a WhatsApp group, just being messaging and stuff like that. It's like that, it just takes it's all of that kind of self pressure that you're putting on to just spread yourself so thin, when actually you kind of think, if I was just doing what I wanted to do, and I thought I'm confident with how I'm coming across or what I'm doing in my life, and I'm comfortable with that, then everybody else would just, that's you, isn't it? That's everyone else would just accept that. And obviously, like we said before, friends and family will just, they'll support that. But yeah, it's very true that I think we're all guilty at some point, especially when we were younger, of spreading ourselves way too thin and trying to please everybody, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that, and it's very difficult to break that as well. It's very difficult to, because as soon as you do, you'll be like, oh, what's wrong with you? You're not very talkative, or you're not coming out and seeing us, or you're not doing this, not doing that. When at the end of the day, you're just being true to yourself, aren't you?
There's one thing which I remember saying to myself, and this is for anyone who's listening to this right now and they do feel like they have low self-esteem. Ask yourself this question: what conscious, deliberate effort are you doing to help yourself get out of that? And when I say conscious, deliberate, because sometimes we think we're doing stuff, but we're not actually doing stuff, and it's not really deliberate. We're just trying to do it because you're thinking it makes yourself feel good. And Les Brown said it, big motivational speaker. He said, what's the conscious, deliberate effort you're trying to get yourself out of that rut, out of that moment, and you really got to make a powerful statement to yourself, no one else, a powerful statement to yourself to say, look, I need to get the hell out of this. What do I need to do now, right now, to change? And it can really just be a change and shift in mind, shift in pattern, shift in whatever you're doing, shift in environment, shift in place, shift in people. You need to make that conscious, deliberate effort to do that.
Yeah. Powerful.
And like we said before, is that it all revolves around action, doesn't it? You've got to physically do something to make that change, and sometimes, it's, and we're, talking about self-esteem, is that, it's only like you said, Sanjay, is you're only putting that self pressure on yourself. So you've got to make that. You've got to sit back and kind of take a step back from your own physical well-being and actually just go, right, is this actually what I want? Do I want to be feeling like this? No.
Yeah.
What can I do to change that? And then it's understanding that, but then also as well is then putting that into action and actually doing something about it.
Well, think about it like this, right? If you go, when you boys, like, give me a moment when you've been like super excited about something, like really just buzzing to do something, Matt.
Could be anything. Could be going out to, we were talking just before this came on, things like social events, something like
Right.
that.
Okay. Good one. Right. Social events. So before you go to that social event, what conscious, deliberate effort are you putting to yourself in order to get to that social event? And I'm talking, let's just go right back to basics. You put on a certain jumper or a certain t-shirt, you're making that, this may sound really stupid, but it's really the small things. You put on those nice pair of trainers,
Yeah.
you get
So
your wallet.
true.
It's just things like that. That's conscious, deliberate effort to change the way you're thinking, because you're going to do something, and then all of a sudden you're really excited when you get to that point, that moment in time.
Yeah, I was just about to say this. When I was like at school, I think I must have like gone between 3 different friendship groups, and each friendship group had a different fashion. And I used to try and wear similar clothes to each friendship group to try and fit in with that group. One's partly peer pressure. 2 is you want to fit in with that friendship group. And number 3, I was definitely not being true to myself, because sometimes I was wearing clothes that, I was making that deliberate effort to try and fit in with those. And I was thinking, what am I looking like? This is not me. But I was purely doing it to fit in. But now what you see is what you get, and I wear what I want to wear. Do you know what I mean? What I feel comfortable in. It is mad. I was that social butterfly when I was young. I'll hold hands up to that. I wanted to fit in with everyone. But as I grew up and matured more, like just like in terms of friends, I know who my friends are, and I'm not going to go further afield and further afield and further afield to try and interact with loads of people and then let them become my friends.
Mental, isn't it? How you think about stuff like that when you're in that frame of mind, and but the worst thing about that is that you feel so uncomfortable and you feel so conscious about how you look.
It's not even the clothes; it's the stuff that you would do with that friendship group. So, like, I'm not into gaming, but the one friendship group used to be like, right, on Fridays we're going to play FIFA. So I would go because I, 1, wouldn't want to miss out, and 2, I'm like, I don't really like gaming. So I'm sat there getting battered on FIFA. Like, what am I doing? Like, my other friendship group are down, playing football, going out for a cycle or something. That's what I want to do. But I was trying to keep everyone happy. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's mental though. As you like grow up, how you like, as you get older, you just, it's not that you don't care. You just like, you do what you want to do. You're more strict with yourself. If I don't want to do something, I won't do it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Is it when you're older that you care less, or is it just the fact that actually you value your time more when you're older? What do you think?
I think I value my time much more. This is going to sound really bad, right? So say if like you two, say that I've known someone about a year or whatever, and you two said, right, before I got asked by the other group, right, to go, and you said, right, we go out for a couple of beers, go and have something to eat, but I'm actually already going out with the other lot that I've not known. I'd probably feel I'd now make that decision of not trying to make everyone happy. I'll go, right, do you know what? I've known Matt for God knows how many years. Sanjay, he's a good lad, and I'll probably bear away and go out with you lads and be strict to making the decision.
Yeah, that's fine, because that's what you want to do.
Yeah, but I mean, value your time. I'm not going to waste my time with people that that I don't really want to be with, but also trying to fit in with.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is,
just energy you don't need to be wasting.
Yeah, definitely, because you'll be, especially, we've all been guilty of that, where you double book yourself and you feel like you can't. You almost say yes to both of them, but actually, you know that you've got to disappoint one of them at some point, because you can't be in 2 places at once, right? So and then you got last minute going, oh, really sorry, something else has come up, and then you're like, why didn't I just say at the very start, like, oh yeah, sure, that's fine, I'll I'll go to that, but then I've just got something else on at the moment that I just need to try and reschedule or whatever. It's that kind of peer pressure as well, of just saying no and having that as well. That's a very powerful thing, isn't it? Actually saying no to people.
You can
Sanj,
always.
I think you're good at that.
Yeah,
I think
I
you're good
love
at
it.
that, mate.
I love it now because Johnny, I used to be exactly the same as you. I used to be like, I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be with everyone. Like I wanted to be everyone's mate sort of thing. And you change yourself for it. And then I started obviously this coaching journey and everything sort of started to change. And I was just like, you know what? I really don't care. And you know what, Matt, you can always be you can still be a kind person and say no. And a lot of people need to hear that. A lot of, especially the older generation, and I'm just talking from experience, but this just all goes back to like surround yourself with the people that, that give you that good energy and good vibe and that are unconditionally, obviously, or family or friends that love you regardless, or that will be happy to be friends with you because of who you are, not because of what you want to be, or that perception you want to give off people. 100%.
Yeah.
No, 100%. Totally agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
It's a mad one.
No.
Just say no.
Not doing it.
People haven't got that
Like
self-esteem.
There's so many times where you felt like, oh God, why did I say yes to this when I could have, and even if you haven't got necessarily anything planned, it's just saying, if you're not even, something you don't want to do, we said it in the last podcast or whatever, and saying that if you don't want to do something is the power of saying no and being comfortable with that, and not feeling like you're upsetting people by doing that. It's not another thing. And again, it's just linking back to, it's only going to affect your own self-esteem because you feel that you're doing something that's not in your control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Here's another one then. Let's take self-esteem to the workplace. Let's take self-esteem to the workplace, the industry that you're in. When you, same with you, mate. When you go to a house that's worth 1 point whatever million, right? Do you feel when you step in and meet these individuals, because they earn a lot of money, they've got a big house, do you feel pressured, or do you feel that your self-esteem is a little bit, you get a bit nervous beforehand, or how do you feel?
I initially do, because I think, oh Jesus, like there's a lot of money here, like they might be different people. But then I catch myself thinking about that and I realize that, you know what, we're all people at the end of the day. And if I'm not going to change who I am, and you know what, if someone doesn't like it, then fine, it's not a problem. So eventually, no, I just go in and I realize that people are people. We all are human. We all have feelings. We all have, things going on, stuff going on, and that's it. Just be yourself. I realized that. I never used to. I used to be, put a front on or put an act on or put a phone voice on, all that stuff. But luckily now what I do running my own business, I can just really treat it how I want to treat it. And I feel so much happier doing it that way. And it could, what? It rubs off. It comes off that way as well. You can tell a mile off if someone's literally bullshitting you, or putting a front on or not being themselves. You can see it a mile off. And if you start doing that, that's where you fail. And I'm not about that. I've no interest in it, no time for it. So yeah.
Basically, try not to be someone you're not.
Exactly.
Basically, don't look at other people and go, right, I want to be them, and then try and follow their attributes to where their little phrases or sayings and stuff.
The only reason
doesn't
why,
get you anywhere, does it?
Yeah, 100%, mate. The only reason why people do that is because they see other successful people acting a certain way and think that that's the right way to be successful. But the reality is those people that are successful and are doing those things, they're the ones that are being themselves throughout the whole process. And that's the reason why they are successful.
Yeah, you're right.
Simple fact.
You are right. You are right.
Definitely.
Yeah. I would say when I first started my business, I probably looked at one trainer and I used to looked at his stories and do similar stuff to his stories. Because I thought, well, do you know what? He's got 80,000 followers. Then why can't I? And then rapidly learnt myself that to be yourself, is the way of being successful. Because if people don't like it, they don't like it. If people love it, they're pay their money into your business.
That's the golden ticket, because if everyone has the biggest trait, the biggest thing, the biggest selling point is to be yourself. we're all unique. So we all have individual, talents, expertise. We're all individually good at something. Us three here are not the same as each other. We're all different and we're all good at what we do in our own way. Simple fact.
Yeah. That's the part, right, that we've actually come together to do this podcast.
Yeah.
Because we're different, but we're on the same playing field in terms of the way that we think and processing situations. And that's why this podcast is so blooming powerful, getting three lads together. Because you won't see this in a lot of podcasts. A lot of lads do this. You won't, because most of us, in terms of lads, we like to keep it close to our chest and try and deal with it ourselves and not talk about it.
Yeah.
So that's this. I know we're like trading away from like in terms of self-esteem, but that's the message we want to come across if you're listening to talk.
Yeah, definitely. You listen to other ones, and then they don't talk about these types of topics. Things that we've talked about with guests that we had on our last season. Things like we were talking about abusive relationships, or all these different types of things. Things that would be people being on furlough, people being in professional sports, people running charities and doing all that. You don't get that mix, and covering such big topic, especially the ones that we covered with Helen and Alexa and stuff, were around the relationship stuff and sexual abuse and things like that. You don't get three guys talking about that, and it's, again, it wouldn't be necessarily anything that would come up across a dinner table if I was out with we're out with mates and stuff. But I don't know, it's good that we are bringing those types of things to the forefront. And again, it's the same thing with the kind of the little things as well of how people are feeling day to day, with with self-esteem or peer pressure or any of the other topics we talked about. It's try and cover as much as possible, but bringing things to the forefront that guys do need to talk about it, and guys do need to have these discussions and be open and honest with friends that if they are going through some shit, then it's being open with the people that you're speaking to. Like I started off with the same podcast, is saying that I am in a bit of a lull. I'm really tired. I feel like quite drained and quite wiped out. And that's that's normal. Everyone goes through that, right? But yeah, it's just making sure that we're all open and honest and sharing our experiences and stuff, and just knowing that you're not alone.
Correct.
I always, just before we finish, I always thought about this, is that what if, like, you see these people on TV that have been in these really bad accidents, like, the people that have been in fires and their whole face is burnt and they haven't got their identity anymore, or whatever it might be. Like, I always thought when I was younger, like, if that, obviously I saw it in the news, if that happened to me, who would still be around? Who would still be around? Reality. Like, who would actually still be around in my circle of friends? Like, who would still support me? There'll be some that would 100% be there, regardless of what I looked like. If I had 3rd-degree burns all over my face and I had no hair or whatever. Same with cancer, when, these cancer patients lose all their hair. Like, who would still be around? Because some people have that perception that if you don't look a certain way, then they ain't going to hang around with you. And you know what? They're the ones that you don't really want to be hanging around with, simply. But I always thought about that when I was younger. I don't know why. I just thought about that now. But like, it's an interesting one.
You say that. Katie Piper did a documentary about that.
Yeah.
So basically, she lost like 20% of her friends because they just didn't want to know. Because she didn't fit into the right criteria of the way that she looked, the way she dressed, and stuff like that. They don't want to be seen with her. It was really powerful, actually.
Yeah.
I never forget about that now. But now look at the massive positive influence she's making on people's lives that have gone through similar situations as herself. Going on tours all over the country and spreading the message.
Yeah.
Like, you can turn it and twist it, can't you? But them people, I just think, they're an utter waste of space.
Yeah.
And you don't want to dwell on people like that. You got to try and get yourself away and move on, because people like just drag you down.
But it's a shame, because you won't know that until something like that happens.
No, I know. That's the problem. You don't know who your friends are until something really bad happens. It's such a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Someone that you feel that you can lean on, you know, in your worst times, you know, and you know, and like you said, going back to that kind of social butterfly thing. When we were all younger, we probably had a group of like, you know, 20 odd mates, and we'd be like, oh yeah, we're all like really good mates, we're all best mates and everything else. And actually, like, really, when it came down to it, you could probably call on about 2, maybe 3. You know,
Yeah, when
it's
you
the
leave
same
school,
now. Hey?
Yeah.
you probably talked to about 5 of them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same now. You know, you got such a you go through your kind of your work life and your own kind of like personal life and everything else, and you kind of, you know, people come in and out of your life and everything else. And realistically now, I could probably say, you know, yeah, there's probably about 5, maybe 6 people that I would be like, yeah, like guaranteed that's, you know, I can trust those people and they'd be the people that would be there no matter what. But you know, when you're growing up, you think everyone's your mate, don't you? And everyone's going to be there. Everyone's your best mate and everything else. But yeah, it's like you say, it's difficult to know that at the time when you're kind of in it. But you soon kind of grow up and you understand who you want around you. Those type of, you know, again, it all links in with that. Surround yourself with like-minded people and people that will be that support you and your biggest fans, really.
But I don't think like
It's
now.
not about the.
But I don't think
Go on,
like
Sam,
now
sorry.
that where I am in my life now, I don't think there's that many people that wouldn't be there for me. Like, because I've got rid of quite a lot. Not got rid, arm's length quite a lot.
Yeah.
And then you keep the other ones closer. No, that's it. Like, I think I'm at a point where I'm like actually quite content with who I've got around me and stuff, which makes a big difference.
It's not about the quantity, is it? About the quantity of having 20 friends that you can talk to on WhatsApp.
No, of
About
course
the
not.
quality of the friendship you got. It doesn't matter about that.
Yeah.
I would say I've got probably a good 8 to 10 very good mates that I can just go to.
But
I'm happy.
Circling back to self-esteem, like imagine I had 3rd-degree burns throughout my whole body, and you know, how much would that damage your self-esteem if you are surrounding yourself with the wrong people at that time? Could you imagine that? Oh yeah, well, that person I've been friends with for 10 years is just like not even come back to me now. They have no interest in knowing me, but I thought they were my best friend. That will damage your self-esteem. So it's important that you get rid of the people in your life that aren't like that.
Yeah.
Fact.
Powerful. Fact. What a way to finish.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, great. Great podcast there, guys. Really, really good. Again, a few quotes in there just so people could take away and stick on their Instagrams and things. That'll be nice. But yeah, really, really good, powerful conversation again, guys. And yet again, talking about, you know, open and honest conversation between the 3 of us. But yeah, thanks again, guys, and I'll see you again on the next one. Appreciate it.
Very nice. Thank you.
Guys.
Take care.